Good evening and welcome back to the second hour of the Exceptional Conservative Show live for the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then to the tyrant. Mary Brockman, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for being in that chat room this particular evening. Also, Lady Bonnie, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for watching. Love you dearly. Thank you so much. And as well, Mrs. Biggs, thank you so much for all your financial support, making this dream come alive. TECNTV.com. Listen, this is one of those particular periods. I normally don't do this in the second hour where I am broadcasting to you alone or not doing an interview per se. I normally don't record myself. I believe that the live version is sufficient in its own right. But tonight I'm recording this because I have some trouble in terms of what I've been watching since November the 3rd. First and foremost with Fox News calling Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania for Joe Biden, as well as Michigan, well before it was done. It was done needlessly. And many people have this idea that Donald Trump lost the election based on what the mainstream media is saying, that the court of public opinion supersedes the court of justice. And it doesn't. It doesn't. Everything is a process. And I want you to think this way, first and foremost, before we proceed. If this was 2012, and Barack Hussein Obama was grasping for a legal manner to prove his presidency, would you not think that the media, social as well as broadcasting, would have literally been all over his side, wondering why he has not gone into the courtroom at midnight on the night of election? This is clearly a fraudulent election. Someone's stealing this election from you. But notice how, for it being Donald Trump, that him exercising his legal options, especially with the assertion that the 14th Amendment has been virtually thrown out of the book by some of the states, that he is in error somehow, that he's holding up the coronation of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I want you to know that neither Donald Trump is a king nor is Joe Biden. Joe Biden, by all his wispy nature, may request immediacy and great speed in terms of the concession of the president, but the president doesn't have a right to concede, or let me just say, he doesn't have a privilege to concede until January 20th. That's when he can announce that I've lost this election. He literally has a multitude of legislative as well as legal maneuverings that he can go through to expose the fraud and the abuse of the Constitution by the rhinos, as well as the Democrat Marxists. Now, the rhinos, most people wouldn't expect that from, but certainly you can expect it from the Democrat Marxists. I believe, under the Constitution, that every president should examine exactly every avenue possible to determine which is the best way to either win or lose an election. In this particular case, when we're looking at Al Gore 2000, we're looking at someone who went through 37 days of counting chads and bit pieces of paper and trying to resolve in mind exactly who won the election. He followed every legal precedent that he possibly could until he had to determine that he had lost. I want you to understand that even the Electoral College doesn't necessarily certify the election. They may certify the results, but it is up to the Congress to do that. Now that you know that information, which you're probably not getting from most of the other broadcasters out there that wish you not know that information. They would prefer that you remain ignorant and blissful. I want you to know that there's some big news coming out of Warsaw, Poland tonight. And this is the reason why I'm doing it. First and foremost, I take no credit for any of this reporting. I give credit to Howell Waltz, who is the author of Justice Restored. You can find him at howellwaltz.com. We had a great conversation this afternoon regarding the fact that first he couldn't be on our program live, but he was breaking a story because of this woman, Sidney Powell. You see, Sidney Powell has become the woman known as Miss Bizarre. She came up with this wonderful science fiction idea that somehow Dominion and Sictal and Smartmatic were all being used by some wealthy pioneers in election fraud. And in addition to that, that she was going to, as she has released the Kraken, she is going to prove to the American people that over 3.7 million to 10 million votes were changed during the course of the election by the purposes of Dominion voting systems. Now, they became very agitated with her when she began to mention people like Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez, dictators of the left. Well, the left considered them heroes, just as they considered Che Guevara a hero. The left really believes he didn't kill enough people. He should have kept killing. But in this particular instance, she has taken the bullet for what is going to be proven in the next few weeks as absolutely true. There is absolute fact to this. And Mark Zuckerberg will not be able to fact check it away. In fact, she came out earlier, and I love her. I really do. I adore her strength, her veracity, her pursuit of the truth. She's a go-get-it kind of person. She says, I agree with the statement today, and the statement was made earlier today by Rudy Giuliani and the rest of the attorneys that were a part of Donald Trump's campaign, that Sidney Powell is not an attorney representing the president or his campaign. That's all. They were just making a clarification here. But the left, the media, and social media, and some rhinos, and some queasy conservatives took it as Sidney Powell was fired over the weekend by Donald Trump because he didn't like what she said about the servers, and that she couldn't prove that Dominion had stolen the election. And this is just another example of why Donald Trump should concede. And many of you all went, oh, maybe he should. Maybe. If Sidney Powell, the great Sidney Powell, can't prove it, then who can? None of y'all have heard of Lynn Wood, have you? None of you have heard of Rudy Giuliani. But nonetheless, that's not what the Trump administration was doing. That's not what the campaign was doing. What they were doing was clarifying the fact that she was not representing the president in this. She was going to be an outside advocate pursuing justice. She said, I will represent we the people and seek the truth. I intend to expose all the fraud and let the chips fall where they may. We will not allow the foundations of this great republic to be destroyed by abject fraud. Now, I want you to know that many on the right and on the left just wish that Donald Trump would go away. Just go away. It's okay. You can run in 2024. We'll vote for you in 2024. It's okay. Just go away. I want you to understand something tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And this is from Paul Andrew Mitchell, who is a private attorney general who deals with RICO cases in the federal level. He sent this note to me, and I really appreciate it. And this is just in preface to what I'm going to release to you tonight to show you that Sidney Powell was not lying. Sidney Powell was absolutely right. And the scary part is how right Sidney Powell really is. You see, the attorney, Paul Andrew Mitchell, writes to me in this particular aspect. He says, first of all, Sidney Powell is a licensed attorney, and as such, she is an officer of the court. She is an officer of the court, not the court of public opinion, the court of justice. Even if she were not a licensed attorney, the federal RICO laws authorize private citizens to step into the role of a private attorney general. Let me give you this right here so that you can share this, and I haven't heard it shared anywhere else. I want to be the first to tell you that she didn't screw up. Okay? There we go. Mary Bonnie, there you go. Even if she were a private citizen and not a licensed attorney, the federal RICO laws authorize private citizens to step into the role of a private attorney general. Whenever anyone does properly step into that role, such persons may legally represent the United States, the federal government, and the people of the USA. I have done this myself many times already during the preceding 30 years. The federal civil RICO statute 18 U.S.C. 1964 is unique and powerful for several reasons that we have mentioned before. Wait a minute. RICO statute? Are you trying to say that there's some racketeering, that this is a criminal thing, not a civil thing? Not the election's not civil anymore. It's criminal. This is criminal. Which is why Sidney Powell is on the outside, not on the inside. Because no one on the inside is working for Donald Trump. There were clearly and without any question a multitude of instances of mail fraud and wire fraud during the 2020 general election. Can I put this out to you? Because some of y'all need to, these are your new talking points. Can I give you your new talking points? I'm going to take that privilege right here. I know that I got a lot of, individuals out there that get a lot of me time and support, and I'm okay with that. Definitely. But in all that me time and support, you have to understand why this particular election is the way it is. Mail fraud and wire fraud. Congress has already enacted a law at 18 U.S.C. 1961, which says that only 2 such RICO predicate acts in any given 10-year period are defined by that law as a pattern of racketeering activities. Donald Trump doesn't see this as an election loss. Pay attention, because some of y'all got Donald Trump all wrong. Donald Trump does not see this as a election loss. Donald Trump sees this as a RICO matter, a justice matter, a racketeering issue, a crime. You see, some of y'all have been watching this the wrong way. Y'all think of this as the Olympics. This is a sport. No, a crime has been committed. And as the Chief Justice, or at least at the executive level, his responsibility is to execute law enforcement in the order in which a crime can be investigated, presented in court, prosecuted, and thus adjudicated accordingly. Yeah, this is criminal, baby. It's not civil. It's not, this is an election type of thing. See, that's why your girlfriend on Facebook talking about, he should just give up. He should just give in. He lost. You need to educate her. His job until January 20th at noon is to execute the law of the land. By using the many civil remedies that are available to her, she does not have any need to honor the federal rules of criminal procedure or the grand jury requirement mandated by the Fifth Amendment. Sidney Powell is outside the law working in. The general rule of decision in all civil lawsuits is preponderance of evidence. There is no need to prove crimes beyond the shadow of doubt. Get that right there. Right there. It is a difference between preponderance and shadow of doubt. Shadow of doubt is like a murder trial. You have to be darn near perfect. Well, preponderance is affidavit after affidavit after affidavit after. We got tons of affidavits. Notice how everybody on the Trump side is saying we have affidavits. We have tons of affidavits. Do you understand? Speak their language. Not the court of public opinion, the court of public justice. This is about justice. A crime has been committed. The mere fact that millions of mail-in ballots were used is quite sufficient to qualify these ballots as evidence of a racketeering pattern. Rico, not Rico Save. Rico go to jail. Furthermore, the evidence of an elaborate dark web network intended by Dominion Voting Systems Incorporated to facilitate remote access to voting machines constitutes more proof of a racketeering pattern. Did you all hear Brenda Savage in her interview say that the Dominion software systems were all flashing, "You have been hacked, you have been hacked," all of them at the same time? What do we call that? That remote access is wire fraud. 10 million cases of wire fraud. You're getting a clear picture now. Without knowing Sidney personally, I am quite confident that she, more than most private citizens, is fully aware of the important differences between civil and criminal cases. What makes the civil RICO law at 18 U.S.C. 1964 even more interesting and unique is the liberal construction rule. That rule was never codified anywhere in the U.S. Code. In contrast, all federal criminal statutes must be strictly construed. However, even though most RICO predicate acts are also felony offenses, that liberal construction rule overrides any need to construe those offenses strictly. She doesn't have to stand in front of CNN and justify the fact of preponderance of evidence. She don't have to. So while you're sitting back there eating your nails and, oh my God, Donald Trump's going to have to give up. We've come to the end. We haven't come to the end just yet. Hang on. The ride has a little bit more. We got a couple more loops to go through. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to tell you that tonight because I think we've been doing a very good job at TECN TV giving you not just the 30,000 feet look at this, but the ground floor look up. Okay? So let me tell you, and let me switch back to Hal Waltz, and I pray to God that I get him on the air with me one night. I really do. Really, really do. He's an American hero. He really is. He has broken this story, and we're going to be the first ones to give it to you in the U.S. This is live from Warsaw, Poland. U.S. Special Forces now report directly to the White House, and that's not the lead story. This, my friend, you have not heard anywhere else, and I am thankful for the opportunity given to me by the grace of God and by Mr. Waltz to present this news story to you all tonight. He will be breaking that tomorrow morning for you all to read at his site, but he wanted us to be the first, and I appreciate that. He writes, "Words fail me to describe the profundity of this news. Legendary Special Forces General Beret hero Christopher C. Miller has been appointed acting Secretary of the Department of Defense by the President. following the sacking of Mark Esper. I just watched the ceremony and announcement of this momentous move on the hallowed grounds of Fort Bragg in my home state of North Carolina, where monuments to Special Forces heroes past stand in remembrance. Only a handful of insiders knew this move was coming, and Mark Esper, fired Secretary of Defense, was apparently not among them, though I'm sure he suspected his sacking was on the way. In fact, Esper might be considered the enemy for publicly opposing the president's use of the Insurrection Act of 1807 to put down the Marxist BLM Antifa Democrat riots over the summer with military forces, if needed. The president never invoked this centuries-old act, but Esper outed himself as a sleeper for the deep state with protestations against his boss over something that never happened, which served the Marxists well. But the jaw-dropping moment for me was just before Special Forces legend Chris Miller's speech, when the young man introducing him came to the podium. I was just writing about him, former Undersecretary of Defense Ezra Cohen-Watnick, and I did a double take. It was the same man in my script. Without getting too deep in the weeds, as they say, this brilliant young man began his career in the only constitutionally recognized intelligence force in America, Office of Naval Intelligence, which I found so interesting. He was then trained in defense clandestine services and by the CIA in tactics, I now believe to observe them. Then moved to work in the Defense Intelligence Agency under Lieutenant General Michael Finn, all within about a decade after puberty. He's that smart. So when General Flynn became Director of National Intelligence and moved to the White House, he wisely brought Ezra Cohen-Watnick with him. Deep state hacks who prompted General Flynn's ouster, including President Trump's Chief of Staff, red-loving H.R. McMaster, also tried to have Cohen-Watnick removed, but President Trump wouldn't have none of it. President Donald Trump knows talent, as this young man went to his alma mater, University of Pennsylvania. So perhaps he had his eyes on Ezra. Trump refused staff recommendation to fire Flynn's protege and moved Ezra to check out the Department of Justice, which many, including myself, believe was to keep an eye on Jeff Sessions and the hapless gang there. His mission was not a job, in my opinion, but to gather evidence for what appears to be this very moment in history, a reckoning with the deep state. You've been waiting for it, America. Here it comes. Born in 1986, this brilliant young man at the age of just 34 is the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and was, in my opinion, symbolically chosen to introduce the new Department of Defense boss, Chris Miller, to send a signal to the rats that their days are numbered. And he introduced this guy, a no-nonsense legend. So let's start connecting the dots, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just go ahead and start doing that for you. And I remind you that you are watching TECNTV.com, the Exceptional Conservative Show. We are the best in urban conservative news, talk, and movies. We really are. We are focused on the writings of Mr. Waltz tonight, as it's a breaking story from Warsaw, Poland. He has put the pieces together for you, the American public opinion, to understand. Attorney Sidney Powell is a relentless warrior whose shaking voice warned the deep state last Thursday night in Trump's litigation team's press conference that she would release the Kraken on them for what they had done to her country. This fine lady was visibly and audibly upset by what she had just witnessed. So what had Sidney Powell seen that the others had not? We've got a clue for you. Here's the first clue. Attorney Powell has taken on the deep state like none other and is doing all of this on her own, not being paid by the president or his campaign, yet clearly knows more than any of the president's own attorneys about what actually took place with the international switching of votes to elect Biden. More forbidding to the bastards hiding in the dark, Sidney says she has the receipts now to prove it. Look out, America. Kraken's release. And from what we've discovered from our sources here in Europe, we would believe her. Pardon me, we believe her. Sorry, I was Joe Biden for a second there. As CIA insiders have admitted providing her the goods because she was protecting General Flynn. But we have nothing from Ezra Cohen-Watnick. He is invisible and incommunicative. Perhaps a wise choice as the most pursued man on earth. Lieutenant General Flynn has been so corruptly and terribly destroyed by the Obama Department of Justice, the courts, and the deep state that it is amazing he is still alive. But it is doubtful he could have been the source for Sidney Powell, as he had been precluded from involvement by those who tore up his life over nothing. Yet we've been warned every step of the way of what was coming by this thing called Q-Anon. Yet no one knows who this is or even if such a person exists. We now think we know, and may God protect him. How many Flynn proteges have waded through all the swamp puddles and know where the snakes, alligators, lizards, and frogs nest? Just one. Ezra Cohen-Watnick, General Flynn's chief protege. First clue, ladies and gentlemen. First clue. Here's the second clue. While everyone in D.C. disavows Q and social media now bans its very mention, I noticed only one man who acknowledged Q and publicly took an oath to its cause. General Michael Flynn. Don't believe me? On Independence Day this year, July 4th, General Flynn and his entire family took the WWG1WGA oath with him. When we go one, we go all. Don't you wish Republicans were really like that? I digress. General Flynn is in the middle of the video giving the hard hand sign. I have no clue what it means, but after his deep state experience, the middle finger might have been more appropriate. Now, it makes sense that a pathetic, ridiculous little Obama district court judge in D.C., the not-so-honorable Emmett Sullivan, is violating law and Constitution to prevent General Flynn's case from being dismissed. They can't afford to have him loose and back in Trump's second term because he has the knowledge of how to destroy them all. Here's clue number 3. Sidney Powell used the term release the Kraken. You all know that, right? She released the Kraken. To describe what she is going to do to the deep state Democrat and rhino scum, and most thought she was referring to the legendary mythological octopus-like giant. But she wasn't. Kraken is a Department of Defense cyber warfare program that tracks and hacks other systems to acquire evidence of nefarious actions of other nations and enemies. Hat tip to Pengella reports. There you go. Let me put this in the chat roll so that you all can share this. I'm quite certain that you're having fun listening to this. There you go. The things that the Democrats fear most are the things they don't want you to talk about. But we now know that the Sichtel server seizure was from a secret operation in Frankfurt, actually controlled by the CIA. It appears the CIA partnered in the Obama scheme with his mentor, George Soros, the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, and globalists seeking the Great Reset, which is Marxist speak for an overthrow of the U.S. government and its president to fundamentally transform the United States as Obama promised. Oh, yeah. See, I'm telling you right now, this won't be found on YouTube. It won't. It'll be taken down. But you will find it on BitChute. It'll be there for you, and you'll want to share it with everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Put this in the chat roll. Yes, all dogs and their fleas lead back to Obama. He goes on to write these words. Thank you. Guest shot by my beautiful cat, Jacob, the exceptional conservative cat. There you go. The one time he wants to do a camo, you know, you do it on the big story. There you go. You do it on the big story. So who is Sidney Powell's orbit could possibly know about the secret CIA hacking program Kraken? Was it just a coincidence that she used the one term that might let the rats know she was on to them at last Thursday's presser? And if her source knew the term, might he also have access to the program to hack and track the hackers? If he were the man over all intel, oh, say, like Ezra Cohen-Watnick, her client's number one, he either knew about it and had access to it, or the lowlifes were breaking the law and he caught them red-handed. Like I said before, don't second guess Donald Trump. Donald Trump has already thought this thing through. This is a criminal matter, no longer a civil matter, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the fourth and final clue. Right on cue. So who always shows up at just the right moment to save the day, like the Lone Ranger in Tonto? Even imprisoned by deep state operatives of multiple nations, Julian Assange has done it. Just like he did before the 2016 election, giving our president the win in a projected Hillary's landslide by dumping the Democrats' own emails proving election fraud in their own primary. Here is the description of yesterday's exposition. This is Julian Assange, ladies and gentlemen, WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks has dumped 8,761 CIA documents on Tuesday, revealing CIA base in Frankfurt, Germany, which was used to hack elections, including malware, viruses, Trojans, weaponized zero-day exploits, malware, remote control systems, and associate docs. What did Brenda Savage say in the last interview? Blink, 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 ladies and gentlemen. You need to go back to that interview. You have been hacked. The leaks purportedly reveal that a top-secret CIA unit used the German city of Frankfurt as starting point for numerous hacking attacks on Europe, China, and Middle East. German Daily, I'm going to screw this up, but it's Süddeutsche Zeitung, anyway, something like that, reported the building was known to be home to a vast network of intelligence personnel, including CIA agents, NSA spies, military Secret Service personnel, Department of Homeland Security employees, and Secret Service employees. It reported the Americans had also established a dense network of outposts and shell companies in Frankfurt. It appears the CIA, that's the one operated by Gina Haspel, the CIA was using the same foreign data center to hack the U.S. elections and got caught. There you go. Put that right there in the chat roll, ladies and gentlemen, for you to share. You got it. Wish Dave Milner was here to hear this one. He's missing this one. Now it all makes sense and explains why the coup players are going nuts. Social media has shut down any mention of this. Yep, me too. I'm banned from Twitter for even talking about it. The press is whistling past the graveyard, ignoring the evil spirits they have themselves created and conjured. The dirtbags in government and establishment Republicans who will profit from the Great Reset to world Marxism are saying perhaps we should just move on. Hal Waltz is writing this. We may lose, but not without a fight. Perhaps even a real one. The Chinese Communist Party is more nervous than a pregnant nun at confession. And the Soros Foundation and Dominion Software Sports have taken leave of offices, which were coincidentally in the same buildings. Odd, no? So we near the end game. And I'm not sure that any one man on earth can defeat the billionaires, power mongers, Marxists, globalists, Islamists, and general fifth arrayed against we the deplorables. even Donald Trump. And it's not only us. It's the European lovers of their own nations and the billion-plus Chinese who suffer under Chinese Communist Party, as well as their neighbors down under who will be consumed. They all agree with us. When one throws in the largest democracy on earth, India, one begins to understand why the Soros Davos jerks are shaking in their Gucci's. Trump's opponents, both foreign and domestic, have openly and notoriously flaunted the laws to steal an election in my home nation, and we have the evidence. They are definitely enemies of the United States and its Constitution, but also of all free people. I've listed hard evidence of the fraud for a week, so don't give me the tired CNN line, but there's no evidence. When 71 of precincts out of just one city, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, have more votes than voters, up to 350%, that's all one needs to know. Go back to the Brenda Savage interview. It's not about race, it's about the errors in the race. When this fraud is precisely repeated in 6 Democrat stronghold states, using the same methods and the same tech oligarch's cash, Zuckerberg, go back to the Brenda Savage interview. It is a coup d'etat. The court challenges presently deployed will give my home nation a chance to allow the system to correct itself and reverse this theft of America by Marxists who plotted this a century ago under President Woodrow Wilson. But if that process has also been compromised beyond utility by the Marxist forces within and without, then the perpetrators should be arrested by special forces, whom I now believe report to Q. Those proven by affidavits and other evidence to have directly participated on this plot to deprive America of its choice of presidents should be arrested on charges of treason. There is more to this, and I will leave it. Well, let me just go ahead and finish this out for you. That includes the social media smurfs. And he's referring to Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, the Twitter CEO, and also the Apple CEO. They gambled and lost. They forgot rule number 1. If your plan is to kill the king, do not miss. The traitors include not only these oligarchs, our new robber barons, but Wall Street globalists and the great Grand Master, admitted Nazi collaborator George Soros. The indictments should include the CEOs of big media, the Democrat Party, rhinos who suckle at the tit of big government and thrive on endless wars, CIA participants, military officers, and security forces on the wrong side, as well as the Department of Justice and FBI who played such a willfully blind part or participated. I concur with Mr. Woltz. I concur. I digress. All should be arrested, tried, and sent south to Guantanamo Bay so this never ever happens again. As an interesting note from my law days, the Criminal Code Title 18 made misprision of a felony, not telling when someone broke the law, one of the first 4, and not telling about treason qualifies. Yes, here's the law under which all Democrat Party hacks and operatives should be charged. 18 U.S.C. Remember, we talked about that earlier in this conversation. Whoever, having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony, cognizable by a court of the United States, conceals and does not as soon as possible make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. How Wotes. My suggestion to you miscreant traitors is to call Sidney Powell right this moment and join the choir. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have been telling you since before the election, Donald Trump has got the goods and he's about to execute his judgment. It will be up to us to maintain our composure and to get this news out there. It will be also our responsibility to execute justice in America. May it be done solemnly and always with a memorial to its actions, that we never go down this road again, and that our Constitution remains strong, and the zealots that oppose it be imprisoned and entreated as traitors. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back right after these messages.